Start with the holy name of Allah, who is great, kind, and the most merciful. My dear student and viewers, in the another series of lectures on the topic of basic idea of mass media research. The basic idea of mass media research is not new for all of you. Before discussing the basic idea of research, mass media research, here is outline. Research and its definition, approaches like as a quantitative and qualitative research method, development of mass media research and its value, mass media research and scientific method, and characteristics of scientific methods. So today's lecture will be consist of all these topics. Now first, it is necessary to clarify your basic idea and clear your concept regarding what is the research and why we are doing research. As we know, we are bounded and we are surrounded by the research educators, administrative, government official, business leaders, human services providers, health or professional regularly, social research finders. So in all institutions, the main purpose of doing research is to find out the problem and give some solution regarding that. I am going to repeat it. The basic or the prime object of research is that to find out the problem and give solution regarding that, and also gives fruitful suggestion that how we can overcome on this particular problem. The research is basically, if we can define in a simple definition, that an attempt to discover something. The simple definition of research is that an attempt to discover something, or sometime it can be replicated. A researcher has defined this word research is that re and search. Re means again and search. Those research has been conducted in a particular area which was replicated in same research in another area. That is called also research that refined, rediscover, research same thing, and most probably the results of that particular research was quite different. So after the basic idea of research, that the general value of research and it's a clarification that research by nature, which we use for resolving the problem or give fruitful suggestions to for research. So there are two basic approach to conduct a research. Number one is a quantitative research, and number second is a qualitative research. The quantitative research, which quantify result most of time in a statistical way. The most of time in quantitative research we use basic research survey method, design a questionnaire, and do survey via any email or any ITC access, or sometimes we conduct group interview from the prominent related one about the research, and sometimes we get small group response in quantitative for quantify the final result. And in quantitative research, it involve also in a use for data collecting, and several method can be involved in. The most prominent or most common methods which are used for qualitative research is the case study and in-depth interviews, I am only talking about the field of mass communication, not others, other field of social science. Maybe it can be changed in other fields, but here I am talking focus channel group, like as any particular channel, Geo News or any ARY, that how they are working, their working style and their implication, and field observation uh, mass media method. So these all are method for using to show the impact, and result should be based on the qualitative, that what are standards and qualities of these. But how we can develop, and how we can do or show that research is going to be in a process. Here is a given some that the basic idea of doing research. Number one, identify the problem and opportunity. This was the basic techniques for doing research, that identify problem, the problem identification, and give the solution. It was a basic idea of research. uh, which problem do you have faced, or do you want to be discover, do you want to suggest? It must be clear. Like as if I believe that Geo News is promoting anti-state anti-state stories, anti-state mind of public. It is it's a problem which I have observed after watching the Geo News several programs. So it's just like as an assumption. But if I will go and find out that it can be proved or not, it is another case. But till that, it is my assumption. So the assumption, that means I have identified that particular problem. The problem can be designed, and on the basis of that particular identification, we can be do or conduct a research on that particular topic. So after that, identify the problem, diagnosis or assess the problem. Now I should be go on the depth of that particular problem, that why this problem exists, what are the motives, what are the objectives, what are the agenda setting for that particular problem. So and I must be assess and diagnosis that particular problem, that it can be solved in this way by the help of research. Selecting and implementing course and action. After that, I will if my problem can be which I have found, it can be proved, that I must be advise or give suggestion to the particular institution or media outlet, that you must implicate it and take a necessary action for this, and evaluate that why this problem is was exist. So these kind of research which will be helpful to you in a action research. Okay, the action research can be helpful. Now the basic point which we will have designed, which we are going to be discussed, which are the importance and characteristic of scientific methods. The importance and characteristics of scientific method are these. Number one is empirical, number second is verifiable, number third is cumulative, number four is deterministic, and number five is ethical and ideological neutrality, and number six is statistical generalization, and number seven is rationalism, and number these are the seven numbers only. So first, now it's basic, and number one, which is empirical. Basically, what is the empirical method? Scientific method which can be used the sensory of experience, that how much you have experience regarding research, how on the basis of your experiment verify and observe or assume uh, some problems, and it can be reality or it can be just assumption. So the empirical method based on your uh, experience, that how you have observed the society. So after that, verifiable observation, that this assumption which I have got from by the help of experiment, and it can be verified through the scientific method, or it can be it not, for using to confirm the result. It is another thing, what I have assumed, what I have thought, what I have get an idea, what I observe by the help of my experience. Now it can be verified, and for the verification scientific method is necessary. Observation made through the scientific method are to be verified again by using the sense of confirm, replicate the previous findings. That I have already discussed the replication, that it can be verified, and most of time that as I have experience of a little bit experience regarding research, because I am doing my PhD right now at the University of Chandio. So these are the early days. I am a cub researcher and I am a beginner researcher. So after this replication, for verification, now it's time to be the discuss the third, cumulative. The period of story start of any study research, try to can through literature and see their study is not replicating in ignorance. For scientific method, literature review is a backbone. Without literature, you cannot be finalized. You cannot be complete your thesis. You cannot be even complete your one single research paper. Because for cumulating the data, the exist literature, the secondary data will help the researcher to build the body of knowledge. So the researcher not leave the findings into the sectors of pieces, and literature review is a basic and essential part at the time of starting your research, that how many people have work over it. Now deterministic, it's based on science is based on the assumption that all events and attendance causes are subject to identify the logical understanding. For scientists, nothing is just happen. It happens for the reason. The deterministic is that you are determined to find out what are which type of difficulties you are going to face. You have faced during the research, like as a time consuming, like as a finance, like as your diversion, and sometimes the attitude of people will not be good, your role of your supervisor, and so many. So you must be determined for doing all these things. Number fifth is ethical and ideological neutrality. As we have believed that we are sometimes follower of any religion. Most of time we follow any religion. We have an ideology, and if we put or we have borrow a topic, or we have designed a topic, or we have find out any ideological topic, we must be neutral at the time of, and try to cover the ethical consideration. because ethical consideration will be helpful to you become a good researcher, and research ethics are very much important. Through my research, nothing can be hurted, and no one can be hurted, or nothing can be done wrong. Because being a neutral, what I found, I must be sure. If it will be against my ideology, sometimes it is a religious, sometimes it's a political, sometimes it's my cultural and heredity. So at the time of research, this is the characteristics of research, that you must be neutral and follow the ethical uh, conditions. Now, statistical and generalization. The generalization refer to the scope of research finding in one organization setting or other. I believe that the if we are doing quantitative research, that statistical generalization would show the number of our findings, and it can be helpful to journalize these number on particular findings, and which will be helpful to make its conclusion. Now, number 7 and last, the rationalism. Science is a fundamentally a rational activity. You must be a rational, not a emotional and narrow-minded. So, activity, the scientific explanation must make sense. Religion may rest on the relevance, customs, tradition, and gambling on faith, but the science must rest of logical reasons. So the rationalism, that you must, what you are talking about, what you are writing about, it must be based on the reason and logic. Because logic and reasons, which will helpful to you, allow to you to follow this description. So it was a today's lecture which I have completed now. This lecture was particularly designed and delivered for 2K19 Media Studies, Shahid Benazir Bhutto University, Nawabshah. Thank you very much for watching. Before complete it, I am going to request you kindly subscribe my channel and click a bell